What's going on, New York Giants fans? Hit Squad back at it with another video. Wow. Uh, New York Giants fall to the Detroit Lions 31-18. Just a horrible game by the New York Giants. Played with injuries today, a lot of them, and we're already a very injured team going into Dallas on a short week. So if that game wasn't already going to be hard for the New York Giants, it just got even harder. You look at the penalties from the New York Giants today. You look at, just the lack of consistency on the offense. You look at the offensive line, how horrid the offensive line played. There's a lot of things you could point at in this game. For me personally, the injuries hurt more than the loss, if I'm being honest with you. The loss, I can live with. I mean, yeah, Washington, they won today. Same thing with Philly. They're 9-1 right now. Dallas, we're going to see what happens as they take on the Minnesota Vikings right now. But the Giants, this was a game that the Giants had to go in and handle their business. And they didn't. They fell on their face. They absolutely fell on their face. Now, looking at the injuries right now, you got Adoree Jackson. Why do you have Adoree Jackson as your punt returner? You can partially blame Richie James. I'm not going to do that. Kid made a mistake, went into the concussion protocol. I said that at the time. That should have been, a roster cutting move. But I'm not going to blame Richie James on that one. For me, I think this was a bad coaching decision. You don't put your number one corner back at punt returner. That just doesn't make sense to me. I don't care if he has experience doing that at Tennessee. I don't care if he has experience doing that in college. Our secondary, especially at corner, is very thin. It is very thin. On top of that, you know that you're going on a short week to Dallas on a very crucial division game, potentially to determine whether you're going to have a chance of getting into first place with Philly or becoming a third place team if you lose that game. So you put Adoree Jackson there, has an MCL sprain. He's out for the rest of the game. He's out for at least 3 to 5 weeks. The Giants lead the league right now in MCL sprains. Tyree Phillips, offensive tackle, neck injury. Jason Pinnock, he was shooken up. Then later in the game, deals with another injury. He's out for the rest of the game. Fabian Moreau, out with a rib injury. John Feliciano, a neck injury. Wandale Robinson. Prayers up to all of these guys, obviously, but prayers up to Wandale Robinson. He was having a very good game today. He's out with the knee injury. We're gonna see what happens. All of this on top of Azeez Ojulari already being out, Evan Neal being out, Xavier McKinney being out. It's just one injury after another with this team. That has been the story of the New York Giants this season. The injuries. The injuries have just absolutely decimated this football team. And unfortunately, this was one of those games where injuries really just were the story of the game outside of the obvious, which, again, we're going to talk about that in a sec. But look, I thought the Giants defensively, they had a decent first half. I mean, you look at that Leonard Williams play where he takes Jonah Jackson, really pushes him onto Jared Goff's lap. You look at Dexter Lawrence, who's all over the field. There was definitely some plays where I thought that, the ref should have called holding because he was definitely getting held, even when they showed it on different angles. You look at Kayvon Thibodeau, finally got a holding penalty, which I felt like in recent weeks, there's been a lot of plays that you could point to that he wasn't getting penalized. He wasn't getting the holding calls for. And he finally got one. But outside of that, I mean, this defense, we really couldn't contain Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. We did in the first half a little bit, but Jamal Williams had 3 touchdowns on us today. I mean, it was a bad game. Okay, it was a very bad game. Now we did see some action by Cordell Flott when Adoree Jackson went out. He had a nice strip fumble on DeAndre Swift that was recovered by the Lions. I thought Daniel Jones, despite having 2 interceptions, if you were one of those fans that didn't believe that Daniel Jones could throw the rock, 30, 40 times and go win you a game, he didn't win the game today, but he threw it over 40 times today. I thought he had a decent game today. There's some things, obviously, the 2 crucial interceptions, kind of, for me, one was a nice play on Aiden Hutchinson. I just don't think Daniel Jones saw him. The second one, to me, I thought that was a bad throw. Both were really bad throws by Daniel Jones. He had a nice jet sweep for a 3-yard touchdown. He made big plays with not only his arms, but his leg today for third down conversions. It seemed that, him and Isaiah Hodgins, him and Richie James, him and Darius Slayton are really building a solid connection. We saw Kenny Galladay, get some time today, made some nice plays. It was nice to see the crowd, whether you consider it sarcastic or not, really cheering him on. Especially with Carl Banks, saying Giants fans should cheer him on instead of boo him. But again, it wasn't enough. And you got to credit, the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions, this was the largest deficit this season that the New York Giants went up against, and that was 18 points. Detroit just came out and said, we're going to stop Saquon Barkley. We're going to make you one-dimensional, and you have to beat us. And the Giants, we're just not a team right now where we could be one-dimensional, beat the team that we're playing, beat the refs, and not beat ourselves. We're just not that team yet. And it sucks. It sucks. It hurts when we have these kinds of losses. It sucked seeing Daniel Jones throw 2 interceptions today. I kind of got used to him not throwing interceptions, but I think that'll be something that he cleans up going forward. But Detroit, they played very well. They played very well today, and I have to give credit to, Dan Campbell. I got to give credit to their defensive coordinator. I got to give credit to Jared Goff. Jared Goff had a pretty clean game today. Detroit, one thing about Detroit is that, they were 31st in the league at stopping the run, and they stopped Saquon Barkley today. Didn't have no more than 22 yards today on the ground. It was just an abysmal game. Now, you also look at the penalties. The Giants had 7 penalties at the half. That is disgusting. That's embarrassing. That's really embarrassing. And again, I mean, you had a costly roughing the passer call by O'Shane Jimenez, which would have killed not only that drive for Detroit, but we would have gotten the ball. And instead, Detroit, they go on and they score. You also look at McFadden gets a defensive pass interference. I thought that was a horrible call, but they called it anyways. Detroit capitalizes on it. They score a touchdown. There's illegal formation. But at the same time, let's be real here. And again, I feel like every time I mention this, I always got to state, I'm on record of saying this because I keep these videos up. I don't like blaming the refs. Okay, the refs, they're human. They're going to make mistakes. Every team in almost every game goes through these motions where the ref should have called this, the ref should have called that. The refs were on one today, man. They were wearing me out today because how many times are we saying to ourselves on the field, hey, yo, that's a false start. That's a hold. That's a defensive pass interference. And we're getting called for the same things, and they're doing it even, if not the same, more egregious. And even the announcers are just like, they got away with one. They got away with one. And it just felt like, hey, yo, like, are y'all going to call something? Like, are you guys going to call something? Like, I felt like I had to step in. Like, I mean, man, it was just, it was bad. It was bad. But at the same time, the Giants, they were just very inconsistent today. Penalties killed them. Injuries really killed them today. The offensive line had an abysmal game today. I'm not going to get on Shane Lemieux too much. This is his first time getting back into rotation. John Feliciano, despite him being out with an injury, played horrible once again today. Mark Lewinsky played really bad today. Our offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas has been horrible. It has just been horrible. And as a Giants fan, it kind of terrifies me knowing that we are going to Dallas on a short week and knowing what that defense holds, and we don't know if we're going to have Evan Neal back. And even with that, we don't know how this offensive line is going to hold up going against that defense, who right now are playing what I call scared ball, which is, they're kind of pinned, in the corner. They don't know if they're going to, win this game against Minnesota. They're going to try, but if they don't, they're going to give you everything they have, which they're already going to give you everything they have, even if they win this game, because now they know, that they're going to be playing for not only just second place indefinitely, but possibly even first place, if they keep winning. So this offensive line kind of scares me going down the stretch if we can't get healthier. Special teams, again, was really bad today. Gano missed 2 field goals. One was blocked. The other one, you can blame it on the wind, but it was still bad. Jamie Gillian, I love you, man. But God, he has just been horrible in recent weeks. He has been horrible for the New York Giants in recent weeks, and I'm all for the New York Giants holding some tryouts at at punter before we go to Dallas, because I mean he had a shank punt today. In previous weeks, he's had punts that you know we're trying to have these punts at least land between the 20-yard line, and they're becoming, touchbacks. And they're setting, if not, they're shank punts that are setting, this team up, the opposing team, in better field position. So special teams, it's been really bad this year. It was really bad today. I'm not gonna get on Gano. He's a bright spot on this team. He's a Pro Bowl player, a top two kicker in this league. I'm not gonna get on him. But just a bad game by the New York Giants. From top to bottom, just a bad game. And this is going to be one of those games where the Giants have to look at and say, we cannot have another game like this for the rest of the season. This was a learning game. Okay, you do not underestimate your opponent across from you. You can't have mistakes like you're having in this game. Injuries obviously played a part into this, but the Giants have to take accountability for the mistakes that they made today. There were so many times today where I'm saying these receivers aren't getting open. And obviously, Daniel Jones is looking at Slayton. He's looking at Hodgins. Lawrence Cager had a crucial drop, that would have, set the Giants with at least, 10 points, a little closer on a 2-point conversion. Drops it. Don't know what he was thinking there. That was a really nice design play. But just a bad game by the Giants. I'm really disappointed. Again, for me, the injuries really hurt more than the actual loss. The Giants, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, what adjustments they make on a short week going to Dallas. The Giants, we're not in a place right now where we can afford injuries, beating ourselves, playing conservative on offense, and, just it's not working. I mean, it has been, but it's not. Right now we're going down a crucial stretch. We have a lot of division games coming up. We have a really good Minnesota game coming up. The Colts are looking fairly nice. The Giants have to get this fixed. The Giants have to be better. And we're gonna see how this team, again, makes these adjustments, because God, if we want to really see this team in the playoffs, we have to. But let me know your thoughts below. How are you guys feeling about this loss? It's tough. It's tough, but we got a short week. We got Dallas coming up on Thursday for Thanksgiving, and it's gonna be a really tough game. It really is. I'm just, man. I can't even speak, man. This game is just really, really wore me out. But let me know your thoughts below. We'll see you guys on the next video.